Hello, this is MrChabry, and we're back with another Pokemon Gym Leader Challenge for Pokemon Red. This time we are looking at the Flying type. Let me introduce you to our player character. His name is Zephyr, and he is on this planet to do one thing, and that is to be the Flying type Gym Leader. And as Zephyr represents the skies, his rival represents the dirt, Adam. Zephyr starts off with his Charmander. That thing will become a flying type as it evolves into Charizard. And Adam is going to start off with Squirtle, giving us a pretty big challenge early on. Of course, Charmander is going to have an easy time in his first battle. The first thing we do is we add another member to our team, and that's going to be Spearow. I'm hoping we get a swift victory when it comes to Brock. The thing is, Brock does resist Fire-type moves, but his Pokemon do not have that great special, so I'm hoping that Charmander is able to Ember his way to victory. However, it's not doing hardly anything, and Geodude is actually able to knock out Charmander and Spearow. After some more grinding, it's time to face Brock again. This time Charmander is at level 11, and we try the Ember tactic again. Our speed is giving us better critical hit chances, which is actually doing really good. The unfortunate thing is that we're taking a lot of damage with those tackles. Next up is going to be the Onix, and we're going to switch out. The main reason why we're going to switch out is because I want to put some growls onto Onix to lower its attack. And then I'm going to pop a potion, hand it to Charmander, and let Charmander come in and finish off the game. The thing is, I gotta be mindful of when this thing goes for Bide, however, because that could actually do a lot of damage if I'm not careful. So we're gonna have to play around the Bide. You can see that it is doing a lot of damage. I'm gonna have to pop another potion just to survive, and we get a burn, but even with the full heal, we still knock out Onix. Right before we dive into Mount Moon, there is something that I would like to take care of. And we're going to actually take care of that here at this Pokemon Center. This guy is going to sell us a Magikarp, and even though it doesn't do much right now, Zephyr senses that this thing is going to be an amazing asset to the team. And as we traverse Mount Moon, Charmander finally evolves into Charmeleon. By the time we get out of Mount Moon, it's time for us to face Adam once again. I'm trying to get some experience on Magikarp. That's why I'm going to lead that thing off first and go into Charmeleon to actually manage with the Pidgeotto. We do get a burn, which is really nice. Unfortunately, this thing is going to get a crit. It's going to throw some sand in our face. And we're going to try to go back into Magikarp just to let the burn do its job. And that also resets the sand attack. I'm going to go into Spearow, try to give this thing some more experience. It really does need it. And of course, Magikarp really needs it because it can't do anything until we get it to Gyarados. We go into Spearow, and Spearow gets smacked around, and unfortunately, the Rattata is the thing that kills us. So, attempt number 2, this time we've done a little training, and Ember is our go-to, and I'm hoping to get another burn like we did the first time, and we do get it, which is nice. We do knock out the Pidgeotto, and bring in Magikarp and Spearow for some free experience. And I decided I'm going to try to heal up Charmander to give me some more survivability. We do knock this thing out finally. Out comes the Rattata. Hey, this thing gave me so much trouble early on, so I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to try to knock it out, and we do finally get rid of it. But Squirtle is going to be quite a challenge, so I'm going to try to let Charmander do some shenanigans before it gets knocked out, and then looking at how little Spearow is doing, there's not much we can do, and Magikarp just hops around. Third time's the charm. At least that's what they say. So we're going to find out if that is true. Charmeleon leads again. This time I'm trying to get the burn, and we do get the burn. I go into Magikarp to get that experience, but Magikarp does not stand a chance. So Magikarp doesn't get any experience in this battle, but that's okay. Our main thing is trying to finally beat Adam here. Rattata goes down to the Charmeleon, and then the Squirtle is going to be so annoying, but we finally take it out with Spearow. And on the SS hand, the oddest thing happens. We do level Magikarp up to level 20, but since I end up blacking out here, it actually doesn't evolve, and I'm going to have to level up to 21 before I can evolve it to Gyarados. And I actually end up returning to the SSN and successfully getting Magikarp to level up to where it can evolve. Now, Gyarados is a really good flying type Pokemon. It doesn't usually use the flying type side of it, but this gives us a great water type that we can use on this team, and it is very strong. And now we're ready to take on Adam once again, but this time on the SSN. We have Gyarados on our side. Things should be a lot easier. We destroy the Pidgeotto. Eradicate comes out, and it stands no chance. Next up is Kadabra. Now, Kadabra might be more of a threat, but he wastes a turn going Teleport, doesn't do any damage to us, and 2 tackles takes care of Kadabra. Wartortle comes out. It stands no chance. Gyarados proving how powerful of a Pokemon it can actually be. At this point of the game, I realize Spearow is not actually holding well enough to stay a part of the team, so I decided I'm going to trade it off for this girl's Ducks. Now, Ducks gives us a few things. Farfetch'd is a lot better than Spearow at this point in the game, and it also gives us access to Cut without having to put on a specific Pokemon just for Cut. Now, we have a few montage battles to get through, and at this point, we go back to Misty. Misty is going to be a lot easier now that we've done some training in between, and we're not just solely reliant on Charmeleon. Gyarados comes out, and this thing is so good. It just shuts down Misty's team to where it can't do anything. And at one point, dragons were so much better. Here we are hitting a Clefairy with Dragon Rage. Not since Generation 5 has this been a thing that could have happened. Now let's hop into our battle with Giovanni. And at this point, Onix is not much of a threat to us because we have Dig for our Charmeleon, giving us some much needed ground coverage. Next up is Rhyhorn, and hey, Water Gun sneezes, that's all that you need. Kangaskhan comes out, and Ducks has a chance to shine now that we've given it Fly, and it does very little. I'm actually surprised on how little that did. We go for a Dragon Rage because that is a fixed damage move, and I think that would actually be really good at this point, and that ends up giving us the knockout. And here we are at the midpoint of the game. It's time to face on our rival in Lavender Town, and at this point we are doing much better with these rival battles. We're going to get a nice burn on Pidgeotto, and that helps out with the gust damage output. We knock it out with another Ember. Next up is Growlithe, and we have Gyarados who can just come in and just demolish that Growlithe. Think back to how we struggled facing Adam early on. Now we've got answers for pretty much anything he throws at us, and that includes those eggs that he threw with Barrage. Kadabra comes out. This thing is probably the biggest threat, and it's only because it confused us, which is kind of annoying, but it still just takes 2 tackles from an angry Gyarados. Next up is Wartortle, and this thing is the bulkiest thing my opponent has. We're just going to knock it out with Dragon Rage. That is pretty quick and pretty easy. And I actually noticed that Adam's acting kind of strange. It's like he's talking to a ghost. He's not even looking at me. What is his deal? And once we make our way to the Safari Zone, there's a few Pokemon that I'd like to catch. One being Doduo, and the other being Dratini. Now, Dratini at this point does not have the flying type, but once it evolves into Dragonite, it will be a flying type, and that gives us a Dragon type for the very first time to play around with. And now, at this point, I go back to Lieutenant Surge. That way, Dratini can get some experience. Dratini is terribly behind in levels. Unfortunately, that's just the way we got him. So, this is hopefully a way to get it caught up pretty quickly. When it comes to Lieutenant Surge, Dig just cuts right through his team. He's not able to really do much to me, so Charmeleon going for Dig ends up just knocking everything out. And the same idea is what applies when we face Erica. Use Dratini first so we can level it up, and then switch into Charmeleon, who can go for Ember and get some good damage. However, Poison and Wrap is becoming quite an issue against the Victory Bell, but we do finally knock it out. Not after taking a lot of damage, unfortunately. We're going to do the same thing with the Tangela. Switch it out, so that way the Charmeleon comes in and gives Dratini some of that experience. And Tangela, who has less special, goes down pretty quick. Dratini again, and then Charmeleon for the Vileplume. This thing does not have Wrap, which makes it a lot easier for us to knock it out. Unfortunately, Ember still not knocking out quick enough, but Charmeleon does survive and get us the knockout. And speaking on Charmeleon, well, it is time for this thing to finally evolve into a beautiful Charizard. Now that we're at Silphco, we make our way to face Adam once again. This time, he's got a Pidgeot. We're doing the same tactic with our Dratini, switch it out to try to get some experience on it. And I've been trying to train it up in between the last battle and here. Dux really doesn't do much against the Pidgeot. It might be time to retire Dux just like we did the Spearow. Gyarados comes out though and pretty much saves the day. We're going to do the same tactic. Growlithe really can't do anything to Gyarados, so I'm not worried. And at this point we do have Surf, which just cuts right through. Same thing with the Dratini and the Execute. We're going to get the Charizard out here to finish things up. Alakazam comes out. I am nervous about Alakazam because it can actually hit things pretty hard. But if there's one Pokemon that could probably take a hit, it's going to be this Gyarados. Unfortunately, Takedown has been disabled, and that's going to make things quite a bit annoying. We do the same thing here, but we can't go into Gyarados as easy, so we're going to have to heal it up first. And I'm hoping to get some damage on this, and you can see it does hardly anything. Gyarados, though, is my main go-to, and we unfortunately go down, but Charizard might be able to do what's needed, and it does. Slash, it gets a crit and knocks out the Blastoise. And we finally get Dratini to evolve into Dragonair. The unfortunate thing is we still have to go through quite a few levels to get it to finally become a Dragonite. It doesn't evolve until level 55, which is the highest level for evolution in Gen 1. Now it's time to face Giovanni once again. So far, it seems like he's not been that much of a struggle for us. And you can see that Nidorino can't really do much at all. He's just outclassed, especially at this point in the game. We're still trying to get Dragonair leveled up, so we're doing the Switcheroo tactic. And Gyarados really coming in and finishing off the Nidorino. Kangaskhan here tries to take on the Charizard, and we're going to do some good damage on the Kangaskhan, especially with Ember, but the Kangaskhan still is doing quite a bit of damage to us. You can see Comet Punch almost bringing us to the end for Charizard, but that's okay because we have Rhyhorn coming in, and Rhyhorn is not much of a threat, especially if you've got a water type. Rhyhorn is nothing to you. Next up is Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen has some more survivability than Rhyhorn, so we're going to hit it with a Surf, and you're going to see that it's going to barely survive, but we still knock it out with the next Surf. Now we face Sabrina and her Psychic types. Can our Flying types prove their worth here? Well, Dragonair immediately almost gets wiped out of existence, so we have to switch into Gyarados, and we knock out that Kadabra. Mr. Mime comes out doing the switcheroo tactic, trying to get Gyarados in here to do some good work. Mr. Mime really double slap is garbage on this thing. I don't know why Sabrina even puts that on there, but we're going to do the same thing. Actually, no, we're going to go into Charizard because Venomoth is a threat, and Charizard's pretty low on health, so if I play around with this, it's going to actually knock out Charizard, so we're not worried about that. And Alakazam, I don't want to mess around with that thing. We do go for a takedown, and we do finally knock it out. Next up is Koga, and once we defeat Koga, that will open up the ability to use Surf, and Zephyr has a destiny that he needs to access by using Surf. We're going to go ahead and use Dig, and we get lucky on knocking out that Muck. One hit KO, because Minimize can be quite annoying. We do knock out the first Coughing, and really this Coughing, not much of a challenge. But now Wheezing comes out. This thing has really good bulk. We luckily get a crit first turn, and I try to switch it up with Ember. Not quite enough to knock it out, but we do knock it out with the second Ember. Now that we have Surf, it's time for us to access another member of our team. That involves us getting the old Amber from Pewter City and making our way to Cinnabar Island, so that way we can go and have it revived into an Aerodactyl. I'm excited to use this thing. I'm hoping that it actually can do quite a bit because I've never used an Aerodactyl in Gen 1. And here we go, time to face Blaine. Now that we've got an Aerodactyl and we have Dragonair at a point where I'm hoping that it can actually contribute a little bit more, I'm actually really excited to try to get this thing up to Dragonite level. We're going to Paralyze and then just trap the Growlithe into a Wrap repeat, and we do Body Slam it to finally knock it out. Dragonair's first kill on its own. Nice. Ponyta comes out. We're going to do a similar tactic. Paralyze it, wrap it into Oblivion, trying to destroy it, and he pops a Super Potion, which kind of gets me nervous, because how many of those things will he have? Oh no, so I'm going to go into Aerodactyl. Wing Attack does hardly anything, so I'm going to try to get some Agility. I'm hoping to get a badge damage boost, and we do knock it out a lot easier that time. But you can see here a crit is going to prevent us from knocking it out, and even without a crit, it actually does surprisingly little compared to what the stat boost should be. Double Edge on the Arcanine, and Arcanine destroys Aerodactyl. Man, Arcanine is mean. I'm going to Thunder Wave this thing and then try the same tactic. It would be so nice to be able to knock this thing out with Dragonair, but you can see Wrap does so little, and I'm running out of power points, so I'm going to go into Gyarados. This thing has my blessing to knock it out, and it's going to just take 2 well-placed Surfs. And at this point, Zephyr senses that his destiny is nigh. First, he needs to buy as many Ultra Balls as he can. Maybe not as many as he can, but quite a bit. And the first thing is his destiny will draw him to the Power Plant, where he comes across a legendary Pokemon. Now, Zephyr has heard about some of these legendary Pokemon, but he's never seen one in person. So he's going to try his absolute hardest to capture this legendary. He senses that his destiny is tied to capturing the legendary Zapdos. So he's going to capture it, but first he has to put a lot of damage onto the thing, and it's barely able to even hit it with the Ultra Ball. Finally, he captures his first legendary. And when I say first legendary, that's because his destiny draws him to Seafoam Island next, where he comes across the legendary Articuno. He paralyzes it with the Zapdos that he recently caught. Unfortunately, Zapdos gets frozen, which is very unfortunate, but now he starts throwing as many Ultra Balls as he can. He's going to go into Dragonair, trying to get it just a tad lower in health, and you can see Ice Beam just destroys pretty much anything. Everything on Zephyr's team is weak to Ice, even Charizard's weak, so he doesn't really stand a chance. It all depends on if he can catch it, and finally, he does catch the Articuno. And now it's time for us to face Giovanni for one last battle. We're doing the same tactic, send Dragonair out, switch it out into Gyarados. Gyarados sneezes, Rhyhorn goes down pretty easily. Try to do the same thing here. Get Gyarados back out here, and a nasty Sand Attack to the nose, but it doesn't matter, one Surf hits, and it takes it out. Nidoqueen comes out, and Nidoqueen does have a little more bulk, so I'm going to just try to stay in and Surf this thing. We do get a crit, which is actually really nice. Nidoqueen comes out, and I decide I'm just going to go ahead and do the same tactic. We did really well against the Nidoqueen, so I'm not too worried about it. Rhydon comes out, and Rhydon does not stand a chance against Gyarados. Surf, Rhydon's gone. So, pretty easy victory there. We're getting that much closer to the finale of this challenge. But before we can go and claim our place with our destiny, we have to make our way through Adam 1 again. This time he leads Pidgeot and Dragonair. I'm hoping that Dragonair can pull off a victory against this guy all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and paralyze the Pidgeot, lock into Wrap after getting a few agilities. Now agility is going to give me the badge boost glitch which is going to boost the attack and defense. However, we level up, so we don't have that helping us anymore. So I decided just to go into Gyarados, let Gyarados knock out some of these pretty easy knockouts for it. Not really standing a chance. Execute comes out. Hey, I've got something for Execute, and its name is Charizard. We go for a nice Ember, and we're going to be paralyzed, unfortunately, which is quite annoying. But you can see it's going for Solar Beam, which does hardly anything. It really doesn't have much you can do against Charizard. Alakazam comes out, and I decide, hey, I'm going to let Aerodactyl get some experience here. No, it's not going to happen. Neither will it happen with Dragonair. So I'm like, okay, we got to go into Gyarados. You can see how much damage Gyarados takes from that. Alakazam always ends up being the biggest challenge on our rival's team when it comes to these challenges. Usually more than the starter that the rival picks. As you can see, Thunderbolt just knocks it out, so Blastoise is not a threat. And now Destiny draws Zephyr into the Victory Road, where he comes across another legendary, this one being Moltres. Not really getting the same amount of luck when it comes to wrapping to get some chip damage, but we go into Zapdos to paralyze it, and we actually do a lot of damage. I decide Ember from Charizard should bring it down just enough that Ultra Ball should be able to get some capture here. And we finally do get it captured, which is actually really nice. And now we have all three of the legendary Kanto birds. Zephyr is ready to take his place at the top of Indigo Plateau. And we're going to go ahead and face Lorelei, who uses ice types. Now, normally I'd be kind of nervous here, but Zapdos makes quick work of her first Pokemon. Same thing with Slowbro. It stands no chance against a Thunderbolt from this thing. And when it comes to Jinx, we do have Moltres. Now, keep in mind, Ice Punch is super effective, so it's going to be doing nasty damage, but a Fire Blast will take care of things. Lapras, on the other hand, is quite bulky. And you can see it actually survives a Thunderbolt and knocks us out with Blizzard. I'm hoping that the attack output on Aerodactyl is just enough to knock it out, but you can see it's not really, and she's just healing herself up. Hydro Pump knocks us out, and then Gyarados. Really, I should have went into this thing because it resisted Hydro Pump, but we finally defeat Lorelei. And that leaves Bruno, who is a fighting type Elite Four trainer. Not only that, he has two Onyxes. Hey, if you sneeze water at an Onyx, it dies. And the fact that he is a fighting type Elite Four trainer means that our flying types have a huge advantage here. So Hitmonchan stands no chance, really. Hitmonlee is here, and I'm hoping that the training I did on Dragonair brings it up to level 55 before we get to Lance. I think that would be so epic, having a Dragon Knight showdown. And we do go for the wrap tactic on the Hitmonlee, trying to get enough experience to get to 55. Not quite. Still has a little bit to go. We're going to go ahead and get our Gyarados back out here so we can do some heavy sneezing on the Onix. Machamp comes out, and we do want to get some more experience on Dragonair, so I decide I'm going to paralyze this thing, and we're going to just wrap it. That's going to be really nice because that's going to give us some attack, and we eventually get smacked in the nose, which makes me so nervous that I end up going to Aerodactyl to knock out the Machamp. Almost losing Dragonair there, losing some of that experience. Still not enough to get to the evolution, unfortunately. Next up is Agatha. She uses her Ghost type, and not only that, they also have the Poison typing on them. The thing is, I don't really have anything Psychic or super effective here, really, so I'm hoping that Articuno can use its Ice Beam to just blast everything. Of course, Golbat's going down. We do get a really nice freeze on Gengar, so I decide I'm just going to go ahead and use Peck Fly so I can conserve some of my power points. We're going to Ice Beam the Haunter, and it takes 2 Ice Beams to knock this thing out. Articuno just really coming in and just destroying so many things. Dragonair comes back out to face down the Arbok, and we're going to try to lock it into a wrap, but she switches out. And really, Dragonair can't do anything against Ghost types. It's only Wrap and Body Slam. It's only attacking moves. So we go into Moltres. Moltres, you know, really brave, wanting to attack Gengar, but it keeps hitting itself. I don't know how. We're going to go back into Zapdos here, and hopefully Zapdos does what's needed and gives us the victory. And it does, with a nice crit. Our box of what's left, hey, we just body slam this thing a few times, and we knock it out. Now, the unfortunate thing is I don't quite get Dragonair to evolve into Dragonite, so we're not going to have the epic Dragonite showdown yet. Dragonite should be able to come around soon. So just keep your eye peeled. Anyway, Articuno is our lead, but I realize Gyarados is here, and of course Zapdos should have been the lead, but it's a little too late. We took a nasty Hyper Beam to the nose. That's okay. We just go straight back into Articuno. We Blizzard the first Dragonair. Second Dragonair, hey, it's not going to live a Blizzard. Articuno is just so powerful with these Blizzards. It just cuts through almost everything. Aerodactyl is back, so we're going to go ahead and go into Gyarados for a Surf. And it takes 2 of those. Unfortunately, though, that Hyper Potion is going to mean that it'll take 3. But we do get hit with a Hyper Beam for our troubles. And now we see Dragonair come out. I'm hoping that this will give us the experience. Ice Beam is going to just knock this thing out quickly. And not quite enough to get our Dragonite. But that's okay. We've got Rare Candy, and we will use it to get our Dragonite out on the field. Dragonite's here, ready for the final battle. And what an epic final battle this will be. Pidgeot is Adam's lead. We're going to lead with Articuno and Blizzard that thing into oblivion. Alakazam comes out. I decide Gyarados is probably my best answer to this because of how terrible its defense is. And you can see that Reflect is really going to make things annoying. Dragon Rage, not really doing much either, but I feel like it's doing more than the other moves, so we're just going to keep to it so we can whittle this thing down. Unfortunately, though, we're going to get hit with a Psychic on Dragonite, but Dragonite has pretty good special. I really love this thing. Articuno comes out, Blizzard's the Rhydon. Hey, you don't need water when it comes to knocking out Rhydons. Arcanine is here, though, and it would be nice to have water for this thing, but I think Aerodactyl should be fine. Unfortunately, we do get burnt. That is actually very annoying, so I'm going to try to just double edge until Aerodactyl goes down. Just take one for the team, and Aerodactyl sacrifices itself and gets a crit, so it can take down the Arcanine once and for all. Moltres is out here to face down Executor. We get the burn, which is good because this thing is using Stomp and Barrage. Unfortunately, though, Moltres is put to sleep, and I'm hoping that I can finally wake up, and you can see that it's just won't wake up at all. Come on, Moltres. Moltres stays asleep, but we see the burn take down the Executor. Blastoise blasts away with a Blizzard, and then Zapdos comes out, barely living a Blizzard, knocking it out, giving us the victory. And there it is, the Flying type Gym Leader Challenge. We did really well, really strong selection of Pokemon when you're looking at Flying types. Of course, you often think, you know, the early game Flying types, like maybe Pidgey, but we actually didn't even use Pidgey on this one. Spearow was kind of our first, but you can see that near the end, we got some heavy hitters. Articuno being one of the strongest, not only Ice types, but Flying types, in my opinion. Dragonite, who can learn so many different moves. We kind of relied a lot on its wrap technique, though, which is not really a problem. Zapdos here hits things really hard with Thunderbolt, another legendary, just super strong. Gyarados, one of the best Flying types, one of the best Water types in Generation 1. Really strong, and surprisingly, Aerodactyl was probably the weakest link on our team. I was actually surprised by that. Aerodactyl, you think of its high attack, you think of its speed, it didn't really do much on the team. Moltres coming in, of course this was a late game addition, but we did switch Charizard out for Moltres. And here it is, we got the victory. Zephyr is now not only the Flying type Gym Leader, but the champion of Kanto. Flying types are actually very strong. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and the next type challenge we're going to do is going to be Ground type. So I'm actually excited for that. Ground type is one of my favorite types, especially in Generation 1. A lot of good ground types. If you want, hit the bell. That way you'll see it as soon as it's posted. I'll see you in the next Pokemon video.